Welcome back to the third mood. So this time we are going to develop the last mood of our project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use exactly the same base that I was using before. So I'm going to open the reference here. Okay, so this is the reference that we're going to use for this specific mode. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to run the interactive mode. And we're going to see that pretty much is exactly the same base that I start to use in the previous examples. Yeah, so I'm using the same overcast sky, so I'm using two HDRIs, one for the lighting and the other one is for the background. Okay, so I think right now one of the most interesting part of the reference, of course, it is the affectation of the volumetric material. Okay, so in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the volume material. So I'm going to create here in an empty slot a new Corona volume material. So I'm going to copy this gray color, I'm going to paste here. I'm going to, you can create a plane, okay, and we can put it just under the main ground, okay. This is going to be a plane that I'm going to select in order to use a bitmap, sorry, a map, call it here the Corona distance, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use here Corona distance, okay. So here Corona distance is going to ask for a node, so this is the node that I'm going to use, yeah. As you can see, this rectangle, it's more or less a little bit at the same height of the ground level, just a little bit down, okay. So I'm going to add here, I call it, yep, there you go, so okay. So now what we're going to do, I think we're going to use a noise map inside the distance scale, okay, and I'm going to the moment I'm going to just change it from regular to fractal, okay, so that's it. Great, so I need to change the volume mapping type, so I'm going to choose inside volume, and I'm going to set up something between 2000 and 3000. This value, by the way, it's going to control, somehow it's going to control a little bit the density, but also how blurred or how sharp it's going to be the texture of the noise, okay. So pretty much I'm talking about the map that I'm using in the distance scale, okay. But we have to be very careful because the lower it is the step size, the more rendering time it's going to take, and also uh, if we do the opposite, if we use a very high numeric value, the rendering time is going to be a little bit less, but we are not going to see the texture of the fog in a with, you know, really sharp. Okay, great. Okay, I think everything is done, so now I'm going to just do an instance here in the global volume material slot, drag and drop. Okay, so don't forget to enable your volumetrics corona render element. Okay, so at the moment nothing is happening. So what I need to do is I need to start to increase the distance far. But first I'm going to give a little bit of distance. According to the reference, I can see that the density of the fog it is really high, so that means I need to use like a very low amount in the distance. I'm going to start with 15,000, okay, and now I'm going to start to increase the distance far. Now we start to see that the fog is right now at the ground level, so the more I increase the distance far, we're going to start to see how the fog is going to grow up. Okay, so I'm going to increase a little bit more, like 5,000, sorry, 1,500. Yeah, it's probably a little bit more. Okay, I think that's fine. And now if you want to see how the fog is working in your in the beauty pass, okay, so this is how it's working. So right now, pretty much I'm controlling the height of the fog, taking as a reference the ground level. Okay, so that is what I'm doing with the corona distance. Allows you to control the height of the fog. But as you can see here in the reference, the fog, it seems in the reference that is like falling down. It's not, like, in a way to say, it's not growing from the ground level. Okay, so it seems that it's falling down. So in order to reproduce the same effect, what I need to do is increase the directionality. Okay, so that is going to change pretty much the direction, how the fog is going to react or behaves in the scene. Yeah, as you can see right now, the fog, the affectation of the fog is it's completely different. Just let me put again 0 in order you can see the before. Okay, so this is the before. Okay, so we have a slightly more density in the bottom part. So now I'm going to do a region in order to compare. So now I'm going to increase the directionality like I did before, more or less 0.85. And now we're going to see that we are removing a little bit the fog on the ground, and we're having a slightly more amount of fog in the top part of the image. Okay. Also, we can decrease even more the distance just in order to have like a more affectation. Yeah. So there you go. So we can increase a little bit more its value. Okay. Yeah. There you go. The directionality could be, we can use, sorry, we can use like a positive values or negative values. So once again, for example, if I use like a negative value as well, that is going to change, for example, how it's going to be the scattering of the fog. So now let me just compare, and it's once again it's going to be more density here at the bottom. Okay. So the majority of the time, I only use values that starts from 0, and goes in the positive side of the directionality. Okay, I think 0.85. Also, we can increase just a little bit more. Yeah, 0.9 also. I think it's 0.99. I think is working good. Probably too much compression. Yeah. So let's try 0.95. The idea is just try to achieve like a very similar fog behavior like we can see in the reference, like it is like falling down. Okay, so what I'm going to do probably is I'm going to increase a little bit the exposure in the second HDRI, so probably that is going to help us to make the fog go a little bit more at the top part of the image. Yeah, also what we can do as well is, let's increase a little bit as well the exposure and the HDRI that is producing the light. Okay. Now, this is the result that we're getting when we're using distance far. Okay, distance far. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this, and as you can see, it's pretty much interesting. The effect is not really exaggerated, so I think the amount of fog is looking good. Yeah. Okay. But also, I think from time to time also could be interesting to see what is the effect that the distance near is going to produce. Okay, so once again, I think it's going to be more useful just create like a region in order to see the before and after. Okay, so I'm going to reset this value, and I'm going to use distance near. I'm going to start with a really high value. Yeah, and as you can see, probably with distance near, the effect is pretty much more accurate in my opinion. Yeah, So now the only thing that probably we can do is just play with the density of the fog, because the density is really high at this moment. So in order to decrease the density, what we need to do is increase the distance, right? So let's try 50,000, and we're going to see, yeah, right now pretty much I'm getting like a very similar result. Yeah, the foggy part is mainly in the upper part. But once again, depends of the distance near amount. So what happened, for example, if I use 1,000, yeah, probably I'm going to use a little bit more. I can try to play with really high values. Also, the higher it is the value, the distance near, like the more density the fog is going to have. Yeah, so I think right now we're doing good. Once again, I think I need to reduce a little bit the fog, so I'm going to increase this value. Probably 30,000. Sorry, 30,000. And I think so far we are getting like the same atmosphere effect. Yeah, probably 20,000 or 25,000 also. Yeah, there you go. This is a very foggy um, environment. Okay, so I'm just trying to simulate exactly the same. Okay, I think right now it's working, so let's take a look in the volumetric pass. I think so far it's working good. Okay, now let's check like um, probably like a different way to do this. From time to time, when we have also like a neutral base, we can try the color tint option here in the buffer. We can just select one of these colors, and yeah, more or less we're going to just like capture kind of the same color. Sometimes works, sometimes not. Depend of the reference, but in this case, I think I'm going to follow what I did in the previous steps. So first of all, I'm going to customize the temperature of the lining. That is kind of green, kind of blue. Okay, so let's go to the first HDRI. Once again, let's play with the tint. So I'm going to select, for example, kind of this color here. That is more or less going to create kind of the same effect, but right now it's really dark. So what I need to do is, of course, adjust by hand until we can see, like a kind of similar result in terms of lining. Slightly more saturated, I guess. Yeah, I think it's looking good. Probably a little bit of purple, maybe. No, the green, I think, is looking. Yeah, it's looking accurate. Okay, not bad. Okay, so now I think I need to customize also the volume material. So let's go. We already know that the color and scattering is going to control the color from the volume material. So I'm going to just select this color in the fog, and I think we need to desaturate and make it slightly brighter. Okay, I'm going to desaturate even more and decrease, of course, the value. So as I mentioned before, the relationship between the color that we're going to use for the fog, also it is directly linked with the density of the fog. So the darker the color it is here, the less fog we're going to see. Okay, so I think right now is yeah, not bad. Right now it's reacting good. Okay, so it's kind of neutral. Fog is not completely purple. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do right now is just decrease a little bit exposure. Okay, so we can desaturate a little bit. Also control exposure like this. And once again, we can just adjust the tint in this one. So I'm going to make it slightly darker. I'm going to correct once again the tone from the first HDRI. Yeah, I think right now is working kind of accurate. Okay, so in order to a little bit break the monotony of the pattern on the fog, I decide to use a very a big light emitter that I'm going to just put at the back of the main buildings. Okay, so I'm going to decrease this intensity, and this is going to help me to create a brighter spot that we can see in the reference. Yeah, there you go. But of course, we need to control the intensity. Right now it's kind of high, so let's just try to decrease a little bit. I would like to keep like a little bit of a bright area here. Okay, I think it's working. I think it's working good. Okay, I think right now is a good base. So we can move a little bit the light emitter a little bit to the right part of the image. Okay, great. So now I'm going to use the curves in order to improve the match. So yeah, there is a huge amount of contrast. Also, we can use the contrast here. Yeah, that's going to be the contrast. Okay. So now what we're going to do is going to check the color that I'm getting. It's very similar. I can see a little bit of green on the shadows. Oh, by the way, I'm going to decrease this a little bit more. I'm going to try to keep it subtle as possible. Yeah, I think so far looking good. Okay, so now let's use the curves. Yeah, I'm going to create a more contrasting effect. Yep, there you go. Increase a little bit what we can see in the highlights. So I see in the shadows a little bit of green and blue. So I'm going to just go to the red, for example, and I'm going to play with the opposite. So I'm going to pull down here the section in the shadows, and that is adding that very characteristic green color that we can see in the reference. Yeah, there you go. I think right now it's looking very similar. We can compare side by side. Yeah, I can see a little bit of purple as well in the shadows. So let's go to the green, and I'm going to pull down the green in order to introduce a slightly amount of like a purple. Yeah, just a little bit. Yep. There is a little bit of green also in the midtones, so I'm going to pull out this here carefully. Yes, also we can use like a region as well. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So for a moment I'm going to just already test the lighted background, so I think it's working good, but at this moment I'm just going to turn off just in order to check if everything is working good in terms of color. Once again, I'm going to keep customizing this by, for example, adding a little bit of like yellowish color this, and also I'm going to adjust the saturate. I think right now looks good. Okay, in the white balance, I need to make it like slightly cool, like we can see. So like a purple highlights also I can see. So let's go to the greens. Let's pull down a little bit. Yep, there you go. I think so far we're going good. Yeah. So also I think probably we can try to put as well the main light emitter at the top, just to see how it's going to react to full scene. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit higher, and now I'm going to turn on the intensity. Turn on, sorry, yeah, turn on the light. Yeah, so I'm going to reduce this a lot. It must be like a subtle, super subtle. Probably going to just like 3. To go to the greens. Okay, so now let's take a look with a reference, and I'm going to just pull down a little bit, and that's it. Just pull down a little bit the temperature, and I think right now it's kind of close. Yeah. So in the whites also, I would like to use slightly the green magenta just in order to adjust the color. Okay. So now in the greens. Yeah, and also I'm going to go to the blue. You can see a little bit of bluish highlights. But I need to lock the other part of the curve. Probably I only need to change only this part. Okay, great. And I think right now I would like to adjust a little bit the color from the fog. Okay, so it's going to have a little bit of this color from here. Let's see how it goes. Yep, I think we're kind of close. Yep. So don't worry if we are not getting exactly the same color, but also because also we can fix this in post-production. But I think the light emitter I think is working better at the top of the scene. Yeah, I'm just going to try to keep this color. Yeah, like this maybe. Yeah. And there you go. I think right now we're kind of close to the main result so far. Okay, so now the main color of the mood is done. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to enable the artificial interior lights. So let me select these lights from here. And I have two main temperatures. I have these like a orange tint warm color, and I have also this red, so I'm going to try to play with both of them. So I'm going to turn on this one. Oh, sorry, this one is not visible in frame. So sorry. I'm talking about this one, yeah. So let's see. Turn on this one. Yeah. So here I have a light at the bottom. So let's turn on also this one. The majority of the time I like to use like a sphere lights, just in order to have that diffuse effect on the lighting. Okay, great. So now let's compare with this one. It's a slightly more saturated, right? And I can see a little bit of orange. So what we're going to do is go directly here, add a little bit more of orange. Yeah, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. Yeah, I think so far it's looking very similar. Yeah, it's more or less here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and also I'm going to use the same here. Yeah, this one I'm going to decrease the intensity. We always need to keep in mind that at the moment that we adjust the exposure of the lightings, just try to avoid to set up exactly the same intensity or in all the lights that we have in the scene. Okay, so we need to play with pretty much all the time with the intensity plus the temperature that we're going to use. Yeah, so far it's working good. Here I have another light. This one is the red one. Okay, so there you go. Yeah. So because I'm using a very really cold temperature. Okay, so probably I'm not able to add more saturation in the light. Yeah, as you can see, pretty much it is at the top. Don't worry. Also, we can fix that in post production by adding a slightly more amount of saturation there. Okay, so once again, for example, in this one, I'm going to use like 200 in intensity. Well, a little bit more, probably 800. So we need. It's important to understand that we need to create like a hierarchy in terms of which light is going to be the one that is going to have more intensity. So that is where the attention of the eye is going to go directly, and the other lights are going to work as a complementary part in the whole environment. Okay. So also here I have another light, so I'm going to turn on. The intensity in this one is very high due to the amount of fog that we're using. But once again, I think I'm going to keep it low. Sorry, 2000. Well, I'm just checking if I have another light here. No, I think. No, yeah. There you go. Yep, there you go. I think right now it's working good. So the only light that I'm going to adjust right now is this one. And I would like to like overlapping a little bit the light. Oh yeah, it is a little bit here. Okay, let's increase a little bit. Yeah, there you go. And right now, kind of close to the main subject, to the main reference. So what I'm going to do probably is I'm going to use a LUT in order to adjust a little bit more the color. I hope this is not going to affect too much the overall mood. So I have a LUT collection here that I recently voted. Is this Rocket Rooster Cinema Color LU2. Really nice LUT. So for example this green, Cine Green. So we can just, yeah, there you go. I think right now we're getting that green, but actually probably the downside, it is affecting also the sky. I'm getting that green even if I decrease a little bit more, like 1.0.2 maybe. Yeah, it's very similar in comparison from what we can see in the reference, but actually it is affecting as well the sky. Yeah. So what we can do is just probably try to rebalance a little bit um, with the greens. I'm going to just try to pull down the greens and the highlights. Yeah, that is going to like neutralize a little bit. Because remember, it is the opposite, right? Right, and there you go. Very similar. We can compare, and also I'm having like the green at the bottom, but it's kind of bluish as well. Once again, let's play with the curves. Let's go to the blue. So increase slightly the blue in there. And the shadows, not too much. And I think we got it. And so a little bit of vignetting as well is going to help us. Yeah. One point 25. Yeah. There you go. And I think the last thing that probably we can add to this image is just blur a little bit here inside the corona distance. We have the noise, so probably we can blur a little bit this. So let's see how it goes. I think right now looks better. Yeah. That's it. Now let's take a look to the volumetric pass. That is what we're getting. Probably too much, I guess. Just let me try. A valley in the middle. Okay. Also, this is affecting a lot in the way that we can see the color. And also the temperature of the light that I'm using at the top. I'd like to check that again, double check that. Yeah, it is very similar to this color. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go here to the greens. Yeah, right now. It's good. And there you go. I think right now it's ready to, yeah, jump to the post-production part of the process. Yeah, so there you go. So this is what I did, but in the original example, to be honest, I used this light at the back because I just was like my personal interpretation, just probably add a little bit more of a fog at the background, create a more interesting fog reaction, but also we can follow exactly the reference and keep, for example, the brighter part of the top. Yeah, that is not going to be a problem. So I'm going to go here to the top view and probably going to try to keep these a little bit more here. Probably a little bit more to the upper part here. Yep, there you go. I think right now it's kind of similar. And now I'm going to speed up a little bit the preview by doing a zoom, just in order to see better. Yeah, I think this is working good. I think this was the most challenging mode from all the three reference that I decided to use. Yeah, it's not like a common color palette for exteriors actually, but I think the challenging part was try to create the same color grading approach, but directly on the buffer. That in my opinion was super challenging. But anyway, I think the result is very rewarding, as you can see. Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but actually we can relate that the result comes from the reference. Okay, so also we can improve it even more in the post-production part. Great, I think that's it for the Corona part of the video tutorial. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to improve even more the mood matching, but this time in post-production. Okay, so see you in the next video.